It's your ghoul Alexa,
And you Google Teresa.
and it's time to get spooked away. So our first stories for today are going to be coming from where we lived in Hilo, Hawaii.
So we lived in this house when we were teenagers, and we lived there for about 2 years. As soon as we moved in, activity picked up really quick. It was the first week that we had been living there, and I had come home from school, and I knew I was going to be home alone. Dad was at work, and Alexa was at school, and at this point I hated being alone in the house. It was also not furnished yet, so it felt really really empty. I felt really alone there. So I had come in, set my backpack down in the living room, and I walked to the kitchen to grab a snack. And all of a sudden I hear running from the front door to the kitchen. And I just got this sick feeling in my stomach, and I turned around and no one was there. And then I looked in the living room and no one was there either. So I walked to the living room to grab my backpack, and I was texting my dad really quick to tell him that I was scared, to tell him to come home, and I felt breathing next to me. So I grabbed my shit and I just booked it out the front door. I sat on the front steps, and as soon as I sat down, I heard running from the kitchen to the front door. And I left the front door open so I could see into the house while I was sitting there as I heard these footsteps, and no one was there. It was so scary. I just sat there and waited till someone came home because I could not be in that house alone anymore.
Yeah,
It was all of 10 minutes and I was just completely destroyed.
the activity there was pretty active from that point on. One of my first major experiences with the house, I had brought 2 of my guy friends over after school. A lot of activity, I guess, happens after school. But we went and sat on our back steps right outside of our kitchen, right outside our kitchen door, which was our back door. And I had nonchalantly asked them if they believed in ghosts, and they made fun of me. They thought I was crazy, and they continued to taunt the ghosts. And I kind of just brushed it off, and we moved to a different topic. And mid-sentence from one of these guys, a huge crash came down in our kitchen. It sounded like pots and pans had fallen from the ceiling to the floor. It was so loud and jolting that it actually shook the floor and shook the steps that we were sitting on. And right after that, we could hear loud, ferocious running from the back door to the front door. And the guys looked at me and they asked me who was home. And I told them no one. Teresa was at dance class. My dad was at work, and they didn't believe me. So we went into the house, and everything was still. It was completely silent. There was no one there. I opened all of our cabinets because you could plainly see nothing had moved in our kitchen. So I opened all the cabinets to show them all the dishes, and nothing had moved. All of our dishes, all of our pots and pans were still neatly stacked. And our house is haunted. To this day, they think I orchestrated the whole thing. They still don't believe in ghosts. But that house was very active.
Before we get into more about the house, we have one more story for you about actually our dad's experience in the house.
Yep, he was doing laundry one day, and it was about time for us to come home from school. And he was keeping an ear out for us, and he heard us come home. Walking upstairs, we were talking amongst ourselves, and he was like, all right, time to do my fatherly shit. And he went upstairs to greet us after school, and no one was there. So he just kind of brushed it off, and he was like, all right, it was just my imagination, whatever. And so he went back downstairs to continue doing laundry. About 5 minutes into doing laundry, he hears us come home. He hears the footsteps, and he hears us talking. And these are thin floorboards. They're not there's no carpet up there. They're just boards with linoleum on top of them. If you walk on those floors, dust actually falls from the ceiling in the basement. And so he heard us come home, and he's like, okay, now they're home. So he goes upstairs. Absolutely nothing. No one's home. He calls out for us. Nothing. And he's like, all right, okay, I see what's going on here. Fool me once, fool me twice. And he went back downstairs to continue doing laundry. He stayed down there for a while doing laundry, hearing people upstairs talking, walking. And this time he didn't go upstairs to see if we were home because he knew we weren't, and continued to hear everything.
So finally, we walk down the driveway and into the carport, and Dad just runs out. Like, he heard us, so he runs out, and he's like, guys, come here, come here, come here. And we had, like, friends with us, and we were like, what? Okay. We went downstairs, and he was like, come here, listen. Shh. And we were like, what? And he was like, listen, shh. We sat there, and there was nothing. We're like, what's going on? He was like, shh. Nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. So we were like, what's going on? This was weird. Like, we had friends with us, and it was just like
super weird.
Yeah, it was so strange. We're like, we don't understand what is going on. He was like, I heard you guys come home 15 minutes ago. We're like, we were walking home. And he was like, I know. But I heard people walking around upstairs and talking, and I thought it was you guys. We're like, that wasn't us. He's like, I know. I think we scared our friends, to say the least.
Yeah. But, I mean, our house, we still had lots of people over, and we loved that house.
Yeah, definitely. Our little spooky blue.
Yep, it was a good house. It was, I mean, we had activity all the time, and we will be telling you more stories from this house, but this is going to be it for now. We do want to give you a little background on the house, because we did try to look into it.
Right. We wanted to know if there were, like, deaths on the property, or any information that could, like, lead to a haunting.
Mm-hmm. So what we did find is that the house was built in 1946, which was the same year that Hilo got hit by a major tsunami, and a lot of deaths occurred, a lot of devastation. Houses were blown away, and so there was a lot going on at that time, and that's the year our house was built.
Yes. So even though there was no, like, direct link, the whole town experienced trauma. So we believe that that could have something to do with why we had spirits who were so attached to the house. Maybe they saw it as a refuge, or I don't know. But
yeah, not too sure.
We will have more stories about this house, so remember, Spooky Blue will be coming back.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of experiences there. We also can't wait to share your guys' experiences, and that'll be happening in our next video.
Yep, so please send your stories to spookedaway@gmail.com.
Yeah, and remember to tell us if you want to be anonymous or not, because we want to respect your privacy as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Please just let us know, and if you want anybody else in your story to stay anonymous as well.
Yeah, very important.
Very.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us on this week's Spooked Away.
Oh wait, and don't forget, we'll be releasing our videos every Sunday.
That's right, every Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. We're so excited to tell you spooky stories, and just our spooky stories, your spooky stories. It's going to be really exciting. So stay tuned.
And we'll see you next week.
For sure. Stay spooked.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. So obviously we're recording from a cell phone.
Obviously.
And my phone kept auto-focusing. We just watched the video, and we're so sorry.
Yep, but we're gonna stick with it.
Yep, that's the one.
That's it.
Also, please have patience with us as we learn how to be YouTube.
We're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.